Hi everybody and welcome back to Paranormal TV. On this channel we talk about all things weird, ghosts, UFOs, cryptozoology, missing persons, murders, and all things weird. And we've got a few videos that we've put up previously, and at the moment we're talking about our personal journey. My name's Guy.
And I'm Loui.
And this is Paranormal TV. So what we're talking about is when we got together, I had my first paranormal UFO experience with Loui, who had previously had a weird UFO experience.
A few, actually.
Yeah.
A couple, yeah.
And then it just like it comes. If you start looking for this stuff, it comes to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
sometimes when you're not looking for it, it comes to you as well, which can be quite of a shock sometimes.
So we've got some great footage and bits and pieces to show you, but we might start off with your first UFO experience, which was in the country, yeah?
Yes. In saying that, we would see quite a few things in the sky at night. Nothing definite, like you couldn't really define it, but things moving too quickly or, just strange things that didn't fit, especially in a sky at night. I think the first one from memory was actually Halley's Comet. I was very, very young, and I kind of really didn't understand the big deal about Halley's Comet at the time. I do now, unfortunately. I wish I'd paid a bit more attention back then, but
I'm glad you got to actually see it. I heard all the stuff about it when it went round, and I think where I was at the time, it was a cloudy night, and
Oh, I just remember being dragged out of bed at some stupid hour in the morning or really late at night or something to look at this thing going across the sky that would never be back for 80 years or something and was once in a lifetime opportunity. When you're little, it doesn't really matter that much. But now I'm older, I wish I'd actually had a bit more interest in the comet. But anyway, we're digressing here. So the first real memory of seeing something quite unusual was there was actually something trailing Halley's Comet in the tail of the comet. Which was witnessed by my mother, I think my sister, my third eldest brother, and myself, standing out in the middle of, as I've said before, bumfuck nowhere, looking at this comet in the sky, and then in the tail of the comet were these red and blue flashy lights, like pulsating lights. It did become a topic of discussion on news stations and everything like that as to what this thing was, and I think the conclusion came down to, as it always does, was it was a weather balloon, which I can guarantee you I really doubt it was. I don't think there was a weather balloon in the tail of Halley's Comet, but...
No, you'd think it'd get burnt or frozen, or isn't it ice or something?
It's gas, I believe.
Gases, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't think a weather balloon would be that far up in the atmosphere anay
so
for us to see it.
Typical excuse.
Yeah, it's just your typical...
Swamp gas. Swamp gas.
Yeah. Let's just palm it off to something else, but it was witnessed by many people at that point in time, and I do remember it quite vividly, seeing it behind Halley's Comet. So that was my first one, and then, as I said, through time, you do notice strange things in the sky, but nothing that you sort of really can pinpoint. You just sort of palm it off most of the times, because if you say anything, a lot of people think that you're a little bit weird, or that you think that there's little green men running around or anything like that, so a lot of the times you don't say anything, especially back then.
I heard on Coast to Coast, I remember listening to one podcast, and the guy being interviewed, they said, how can you see UFOs? And he said, well, look up. And probably do it over night time with night vision goggles, and you'll be surprised at the amount of stuff that you see. And we actually bought some night vision goggles, and you will see things. A lot of them are satellites and that kind of stuff, but then there's some things that might move a little bit too quick to be anything known of this Earth.
Yes, that is true. We're not saying that there is life out there, but we are.
You've had to
Who
look at the
knows?
Drake equation. There's life out there. Google Drake equation.
Well, let's put it this way: if humans are the only intelligent life form in this whole vastness of space, then I think we're in a whole heap of trouble. But anyway, so the first real personal experience I guess I had was driving. As I've said previously, my mother used to cook at a pub, and the licensee that was there, he actually was no longer required at that particular hotel, so he went, I think it was Cootamundra or Coonabarabra, and I can't remember which one it was, but he was in one of these other country towns, and my mother wanted to go visit and see him and things like that. So I believe on my L's at this point in time, probably L's or P's.
Learner license.
Yes, learners or the P plate permit. And she heavily relied on me driving this particular night. It was very dark. It's a very, very long road. It's a very straight road. There was no other traffic on the road. So we're just moseying along in the car, you know, music going, Mum always checking, are you alright, do you need to pull over, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, what I thought I saw in the revision mirror, I thought I saw headlights, in a sense. Like there was just a light, and I've kind of, you know, seen it out of the corner of my eye, and I've said to Mum, I went, oh, finally, we've got someone else on the road with us. Because we'd been on this road for hours and didn't see a single car anywhere.
Long, dark country road. You can just see it, can't you? Just nothing in front, nothing behind, and then suddenly...
barely even a curve in the road.
Yeah.
It was just so long and straight, and it was a boring road. Like, I'm surprised there's probably not more accidents on it. It's a very long, boring drive. So... I've gone to look in the revision mirror again, and I've realised that the light wasn't actually in the revision mirror. I was seeing it under the revision mirror in front of me.
Okay.
And it was just so
before
bright.
It was probably a truck, but now it's not.
Well, I don't know. I just saw light, like what I thought was reflecting out of the revision mirror. Like I wasn't looking in the mirror. I was just looking straight ahead, watching the road.
Mm-hmm.
But just from the corner of my eye, I thought I'd seen it in the revision mirror, but it wasn't. It was just under the revision mirror. So I'm driving, but I'm kind of trying to look as well at this thing in the sky that I've just seen. And my mum turns around to me and she's like, what are you doing? You know, you watch the road and everything. And I said to her, I went, Mum, what's that? And I've pointed up to this bright light, and it was just getting brighter and brighter and brighter each time like we looked at it.
So was it on the road or in the sky?
It was in the sky, but it was sort of in a distance, so it looked like...
Initially on the road, maybe?
No, it was in the sky, but from where I could see it, it looked like it was in a revision mirror, so you can imagine it behind me.
Yeah.
So it was still in the sky, and like we kept moving and we kept going further and further, and this thing would get brighter. And then all of a sudden, it just would disappear. And then it would come back. And I'm kind of going to Mum now. I'm like, Mum, like, what is this? Like, what the hell is this? Like, I was starting to get a little bit frightened at this point in time. Like, I didn't really know much about UFOs, aliens, anything like that. It was just this strange thing in the sky. So we sort of kept watching it. This went for about 5 or 10 minutes, and it would sort of blink out, and then it would come back, and then all of a sudden it would just zigzag across the sky.
Oh, crazy. Yeah.
And then it would just drop out of sight. You could see it just drop. And then, like, I think I was actually screaming at my mum at this point in time, going, what do I do? What do I do? Do I pull over, turn all the headlights off? Do we hide? What do we do? Do they have infrared? Can they see us? And I was freaking out, and then it started freaking her out. So her being the mother, I'm asking her for the answers. She's starting to freak out, which is freaking me out more. And I'm being the driver going, do I keep going? Do I stop? Are these here?
Her first time too, right?
Are these things here coming to take us away? What the hell is going on? And then the next thing you know, it's back in the sky.
They probably took you.
And then it's zigzagging again. And then it would drop out of sight again. And I did slow the car down, and at this point in time I wasn't really watching the road. Luckily it was a straight road, but next thing I know, I've actually driven over a dead kangaroo.
Oh,
I didn't see it. It was huge, and yeah, it did hit the bottom of the car.
Dead rude.
So yeah, be cautious if you do see these things. Probably pull over and look, not keep driving. But I was really frightened. Like, as I said, there had been no one around us for hours. We were out there on our own. I was very young at this point in time, and my mum, two women stuck in the middle of nowhere, like even more bumfuck nowhere than I grew up. And this alien UFO thing is flying around the sky, and we're just sitting in terror this whole time. And then all of a sudden, it's gone down and up and down and zigzagged and everything, and it just disappeared.
Is there any missing time or anything?
I don't know. I never knew anything about looking at missing time
or
anything like that at this point in time.
The sun's going down, you go out.
No, it wasn't like that.
And then you get there and the sun's coming up and you go, oh, that was quick.
No, it wasn't like that. No, that trip just seemed to go forever.
I think they took you because it was only after I met you that the UFOs started to show up in my life, and I started to be able to take photos of UFOs, which we'll show you in a minute.
Well, it could have been a possibility. I don't know.
It would explain a lot about your personality.
Explain a lot. But anyway, so we were really freaked out. Like, really freaked out about this. And it was just a constant, keep your eye on things going on in the sky just in case they come back. I said just before about 5 minutes.
Only 5 minutes, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't long, but it was long enough when this was so unexpected and something that you've never really quite had an experience with before. So to say that we were beyond terrified is an understatement. I actually don't think I slept that night, even though I'd driven something like 8 hours or more straight nearly without much time to break or, have a rest or anything like that. And I just remember living in absolute fear that these things had come or would know where we were, even though like not knowing whether they'd taken us or not. It was just an absolute fear that I had that these things were going to come back and maybe take me on their spaceship. At this point in time, I wish they probably had. It would have been fun. I'm open for it now if they want to come take me.
Let's get off this planet. I think it's done.
But anyway, we digress again. So that was probably the really, really first memorable experience of a UFO that I had that really put the fear of whatever God there is out there in me. So
maybe there are the gods.
Maybe. Could be. But I do think that the second one that I experienced was something called Minmin Lights. Now, these are quite common in country areas, and a lot of people have actually seen them.
That's an Aboriginal description, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure where the Minmin Lights come from or where the name comes from, but
I think it is.
As far as I know, they're just known as Minmin Lights. My ex-sister-in-law has also witnessed these lights, I believe, with a friend that was with her at the time. But basically, most times what happens is you are driving along a country road. Once again, at this point I was driving from Tamworth to a little country town called Manila in New South Wales as well. It's usually about a 45-minute trip, depending on your speed limits and if there was any cops around, let's just say. So I'm just driving along, and next thing I know, I see headlights in my revision mirror once again. Surprising. So it just looks like some headlights are in the back of your revision mirror. That's all you see first. But these things approach so fast that it can't possibly be a car. Like 1 minute it looks like they're about 5k behind you, and within a minute they're right at the back of your car. Like, it's just the most terrifying thing. I was on my own at this point in time as well. I'd sort of just gotten my first car. I was going to visit my mum, and it was in the middle of the night. And I just remember, I remember seeing these things in my revision mirror and thinking, yeah, it was a car. And then the next time I looked, they were basically right on my tail of my car. And they...
Like tailgating?
Like high beams. Like someone's right behind you with their high beams on, but it was it was too short a time for this car to catch up to me. So at this point in time, I still didn't know what it was. It was a bit weird, but I was kind of going, I wish this dickhead would turn his high beams off. And then next thing I know, that the two headlights, what I thought were headlights, started sort of spinning around each other. And it was sort of, that went on for like about 30 seconds, and next thing they just went flying off the side of the road and disappeared. And I basically shit myself at this point in time. I'm on my own going like, what the fuck was that? You know, you what you do when you're in your car on your own sometimes, and you sort of get to that point. And I actually did pull over at that point because I couldn't drive. I was shaking too much from the terror of what this was behind me. Because it's not something that you really expect to see. I mean, you hear the stories, but you don't really expect to see it. Like, you don't go out driving going, oh, I'm going to see some Minmin Lights tonight. So it was just like one of those things. It was so intense. It was just, so I did pull over. I didn't get out of the car, I will say. I pulled over, but I haven't got my breath back.
What if it's the same thing? Like, people see, spaceships and triangle-shaped craft like the Phoenix lights and these sorts of things. And then there's the spheres of light that are like orbs, like spirit orbs.
The balls of light,
They do the crop circles. Are the Minmin Lights one or the other or something else?
I think they possibly could be one of the same. It's a very similar, from what I've seen with the lights making the crop circles, they do look very similar. Most of the ones I have seen are during the day, so it's not quite, you can't really define whether it is exactly the same thing. It could be, it may not be. But they do frequent around those areas quite often. Anywhere sort of inland, like New South Wales, I know I've heard a lot of people have experience with Minmin Lights around those areas in the country towns. So I just remember just being absolutely terrified. I think the speed limit on that road was 100. I think my car was rattling to get it as fast as I possibly could to get out of the car and into a house where my mum was, so I didn't have to be on my own, because I think I only had about 15 minutes left to get to her house. I think I did it in 5. But I just didn't want to be out there on my own. I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I didn't know, what to expect. So
from the time that this happened, the lights appeared, they sped up to the back of your car, and you went, I gotta get it.
They did a few circles.
So first you think it's headlights, then they're on the back of your car, and then they're doing these things around the back of the car.
Yeah. And then just fly off to the side of the road and disappear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at, within the blink of an eye. It's instant. It's not...
And you just kept going. It's like, I don't want them to come back.
I kind of went a little bit and pulled over, just so I could... Because I really was shaking so badly at this point in time. It's not really something that you like to experience on your own, I guess. So I gave myself a couple of minutes to get my breath back and calm down a bit. I was actually concerned about me driving at that point. I more than likely would have near killed myself, I think, if I'd kept driving, because I was absolutely terrified, being on my own and witnessing this. It was absolutely horrible, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can imagine it really would shake you.
Yes, it did. It rattled me.
So we just Googled, and that's exactly what you said it is.
Yeah, and honestly, 100%, I'll say to you, I've never, ever, ever Googled this before. I've never, ever looked it up on any websites. It's just been like a folklore in the country of Minmin Lights.
But you read that description. What does Minmin Lights mean in Aboriginal? Minmin Lights, named after an Aboriginal term, are mysterious lights in Australia's outback, which appear suddenly, may chase you if you're in a car, approach rapidly to within a few metres, often switching position dramatically, have no discernible origin.
Yeah.
So that's
Exactly what
happened.
Anyone that's had an experience with Minmin Lights, they'll tell you exactly the same thing, that's exactly what happens. And all of a sudden they'll just disappear. So that's how they work. Yeah, I still get chills.
You're giving me chills. It works.
Yeah,
Are you getting chills? In YouTube land. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a chilling experience. I'd probably be a bit more open to it these days after, you get a bit older and you experience a few more things and you start to learn and understand a little bit more of what's in the world and what's out there and things like that. There apparently are some really nice aliens out there that I'll put my hand up. Hey, come take me. The not so nice ones, please don't. That's all I'll say.
So, I want to talk about Anthony's photo. So, we used to DJ together, and you probably determined that if you watch the other videos. And in the nightclub scene, you're exposed to girls that dance, promo girls, these sorts of things. And I don't remember the full story, but to keep it brief, Anthony had approached me through Facebook. Anthony used to take photos of nude girls for Penthouse and other
Nature magazines
like and all these sorts of things. And when I got to know the guy, it came up the subject of UFOs. And he said, well, I've got to paint a picture. So Anthony, and I won't say his full name, lives out in Western Sydney towards the Blue Mountains. And it's kind of, his backyard is suburbia, and then there's bush. And you can walk out of his backyard onto the bush. And Anthony in 2005 had purchased a new digital camera and just wanted to get some photos just to test it, really. And it was a nice sunny day, and we'll flick over to the picture and we'll show you.
Well, he thought he'd take some nice nature shots.
Yeah, so he's gone out and
looks pretty normal.
Wanted to, check the green balance and the blue balance and that kind of thing. And this might be my bad monitor because it actually looked really good on the other monitor that I had. But so typical bush, Australian bush, nothing out of the usual. But you then
zoom
in, and it was lots of pixels. This is not the full high res version because I don't have it. Because it was too hard to email back when I got it. Can I do that? And there you go. So from here, and there you go. And then we chopped out a little bit and got that one so we can go in a bit closer. I don't know how good that's showing up on YouTube, but it's your typical X-Files type flying disc.
No, it's a weather balloon. It's swamp gas.
Nah. It's like the one in the
I want to believe.
The I want to believe poster.
X-Files, yeah. It is very pixelated, but you can clearly see that there is something there. So he was quite surprised to find this nice little gem in his photos. It was the only one it appeared in. He did show us a whole series of the photos that he took that day, and that was the only photo that appeared in. So it was very interesting.
It was very interesting. Just trying to get to the Gosford ones. So we lived in Gosford for quite some time, and Gosford is a bit of a UFO hotspot. There's a documentary on YouTube about UFO event that many people saw and experienced, and lots of interviews, and we might cover that in a separate video just for time purposes.
There's also been a lot of people that have witnessed UFOs over the waters around Gosford and everything like that as well. Personal friends that we know that have actually witnessed objects hovering over the waters, Lakes Entrance, those places.
So this was just one night from the balcony in Point Frederick. Just a weird blue light in the sky that was there. 1 minute, green light, I should say. And I'd snap this, and then it was gone. And I think this is another few nights later at a different position, same balcony. I saw something coming down from the sky. Snapped the camera, and you can see that this thing is changing angles all in the one frame because it moved quite quickly. I thought, oh, what's that? And it was the same thing. We'd bought a Canon digital camera for DJing purposes. These days, you know, your smartphone's probably got better res and that kind of stuff in it, so you really wouldn't worry about that kind of thing. But yeah, that's, you can see the rooftops here and someone's TV aerial in that shot, and I'd seen something and snapped a photo. I don't know what that red thing is. Maybe it's his buddy. I don't know. It's just, yep, 1 second. Let's take a photo, testing the camera, and that's what we got. Weird things.
Very strange. But the next thing that we encountered was together.
Yeah, so that was, do you remember what year that was?
Oh, I wouldn't remember. We're looking way back, at least 10 years ago.
Probably, yeah, 2010-ish. And we were DJing together. And I used to DJ in the heart of the city. And Loui used to DJ in North Sydney. And hers was kind of a chill-out cocktail bar type situation that ended a little bit earlier than my thumping nightclub that went till stupid o'clock in the morning. Or it might have been, I think...
No, that was right. And then I would just meet you at the club.
Yeah,
and then...
she would meet me, and then we'd go home. And I think this was around Christmas time or something, and the nightclub wasn't that busy. So I managed to have an early night, and we were driving home up the freeway.
I was driving.
She was, yeah. She was driving. I'm tired. I've got a headache. I'm kind of crashed back in the seat of the passenger seat. Did you see it first? Oh, I saw it first, didn't I?
I think we both saw it at the same time, but I really didn't mention anything. I'll explain what I saw after Guy tells you his side of it.
Maybe I can do a visual of me. Like this. I'm like this in the car. Rear vision mirrors here. Louis on that side, because in Australia we drive opposite to America. And I'm just looking at the stars, and the freeway sort of cuts through rock. Mount White, there's a way station. I think it might have been just past it.
No, it was just before.
Just before it. And so we got rock up here, a cliff edge, some bushes and stuff. Then there's sky. And all of a sudden, there's this disc-shaped thing. Now, not your typical UFO. This was more like a spotlight type situation. And I did spot something in the sky at another date. Actually, I might just show that to help people get a bit of a visual, which is this. That was, yeah. But it didn't move. It was just in the sky. And a lot of things went through my mind just quickly. And that was, is this a spotlight? You know, look, there's some spotlights happening. No, there was no beam. There was no cloud for it to
reflect on.
To fall on.
Yeah.
You know, was it the moon? No, the moon's not that shape, and the moon's over there, and then it like shrunk, kind of like flipped, and then just blipped out of existence. That was it, except for what came on the radio. But
and then
what was your? I said, did you see that?
He turned to me then, and he's in absolute shock, and he's going, "Did you see that?" And I had seen something, but once again, I'm driving, I'm watching the road, and this is sort of out of my vision a bit, but I did see a light in the sky. It was bright. It was enough for me to sort of notice, but not take my eyes off the road to look at. So I kept driving, but I did sort of notice that this light was so bright and then just vanished, disappeared, and I didn't think much of it. I just sort of kept on and sort of didn't think anything, and until he turned around and went, "Did you see that?" And I've kind of went, "Well, I saw something, but I don't know what I saw because I'm watching the road." I said, "I saw a light and then I saw it disappear." I said, "That's all I saw." And then he was describing to me exactly what he'd seen, that it was a transparent disc-shaped light, big enough, and then all of a sudden it just flipped on its side and vanished. That was your exact words that you were saying to me. And then the strangest thing, the most ironic, coincidental thing I think you could possibly ever find at that point in time in your life, we just had the radio on in the car, and a song by Sneaky Sound System that was big at the time called UFO, but the lyrics are, "I saw a UFO and nobody believes me." And it was exactly as soon as Guy had finished describing those words of what he'd seen, that song came on the radio, and we've both just kind of looked at each other and looked at the radio and just gone, "What the hell was that?" And I kind of turned around to him then, and I sort of went, "Well, I believe you've just had your first UFO experience."
That's exactly what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was common for me at that point. I mean, as I've said before, I did freak out.
You're
with
not
the
a
other
UFO
ones,
virgin.
but it wasn't my first time, so to speak. So yeah, my exact words to Guy was, "I believe you've just had your first UFO experience."
And then it was just a few seconds later, and it's like, "I saw a UFO and nobody believes me."
Yeah,
which is just so ironic, and
you couldn't even
look, the hairs are going up thinking about this.
You couldn't even predict that song to hit the radio at that time. It was just such synchronicity. Whether it was synchronicity or whether it was the universe telling us something.
Well, they say, I listen to lots of podcasts, as you know, and I remember one UFO expert saying, "You don't always see them show up, but you always see them leave."
Yeah.
And there's, maybe we were abducted. I don't know. Guys, come back.
Take me.
Yeah.
So, that's probably the most bizarre UFO sighting I've ever experienced in my life, with the radios, the song on the radio. That was just, it's just something that you can't describe, the synchronicity of everything that happened at that point in time. You could never ever even time it to do that. It was just something so random.
It's like a message. I don't know. Just
whatever they were telling us. I mean, obviously we're not smart enough to figure it out.
We're
yet.
probably like, when we have a pet dog or a pet mouse and you teach it a trick and you go, "That's cute," that's probably, like we are to them.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. If you guys would like to examine the concept of aliens and UFOs in further detail, there's a guy I follow, Dr. Stephen Greer, who was an emergency room surgeon. He had a UFO experience when he was young. He'd injured his leg riding a push bike, had an out-of-body experience, ended up on a UFO. It sounds totally bizarre, but now actually has a team of experts and people privately funding his organisation to bring the truth to the public, because what he's said for ages is that all of this classified material, as it seems to be that the top secret governments of the world are the only ones communicating with the aliens, and that needs to be decentralized, like cryptocurrency. So everyone could have the opportunity to show the aliens that we're not crazy killers, warmongering nut jobs that they probably think we are, due to the way governments behave, killing life, basically, with wars and things.
Well, all you have to do is just go onto YouTube and have a look at some of the alien videos, and you can actually see missiles being shot out from Earth out to flying objects that are just outside our atmosphere. And I believe one of the missiles actually come from Australia, which is really disappointing. But yeah, if you do go on YouTube, you can actually see that we are the hostile ones.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that if you see some foreign, higher dimensional, highly evolved race of people coming to visit your planet, that you'd want to start a war with them, because they could probably just snap their fingers and wipe you out.
Clearly, they're a bit more advanced than we are. They can fly through space.
Yeah.
And travel different planets and the rest of it.
At great speed. And
we can't even get to Mars. So, what does that tell you? Don't shoot the aliens.
Have we been to Mars? I don't know.
Oh, we've had a
rover
there. But
So, a couple of things from Dr. Stephen Greer's video. If you type in Google Stephen Greer's alien, this was a alien body that was found in Chile. Without spoilers, there was DNA tests done on it, and it is, well, partly human, but
partly unidentified.
The other part's not.
They can't identify the DNA.
Yeah. And in more recent documentaries from Dr. Stephen Greer, there's this fellow which was like an interdimensional being. He's got a program called C5. You can actually talk to the aliens, the good aliens, from your backyard with some laser pointers and a bit of equipment. But the docos are definitely worth a watch. So they're on Tubi TV.
And credit to Hannibal TV for that one as well, for that last image.
So if you go to tubitv.com, that's just Tubi and then tv.com, you can watch Dr. Stephen Greer's docos for free. You just type Stephen Greer in the search engine in the top, and that's it.
It will bring up his videos for you.
And the app that you can contact aliens in your backyard. Yep.
So on that note, I believe that's all we have to say about UFOs at the moment.
Yeah, there'll be more stuff to talk about, but yeah, we're sort of going a little bit over time. Don't want to bore you nuts. I hope you had a good...
Hope you enjoyed the stories.
Yeah.
If you did, like and subscribe. You can hit the notification bar if you want to get videos that we've just uploaded as well. But until next time, stay spooky.
Stay spooky.